I have no explanation or words as to why I am the way that I am. I made this thing. Hey, I'm Jess. I really like making Halloween costumes. I've been very busy making a costume for somebody else. Real quick, let me show you some of my best handmade costumes from the last decade or so. Tinkerbell was made from one pillowcase from Target. One year I went as a dinosaur. I painted these cartoonish dinosaur eyes on top of these old 3D glasses. The spikes were $3 of poster board from CVS. For Patty Mayonnaise, I hand sewed an old polo shirt into the skirt. My 1985 astronaut Barbie costume. I didn't make this at Halloween, but I spent a really long time sewing it, so I just wanted to mention it. And of course, my early pandemic magnum opus, the life-sized denim Furby costume. Eventually I had to throw out most of the old costume. It was an absolute behemoth, but I did hold on to the face and the eyes. Over the past few months, I've created a brand new Furby costume. I think it's the best thing that I've ever made. I'm gonna be sending it to a drag performer named Faye Ludes, who I met on Twitter in Trixie Mattel's comment section. Faye and I have been discussing this costume for a really long time, and it is finally happening. This is how I made a new life-sized Furby costume.
First, I began to think about a box I'd ship the costume in. I was able to reuse packaging from something else to create a box that I knew would be big enough for the finished Furby costume. This is what I have left over from the last time I did this.
We got this! We have perfect nose. These need to be redone. Just for the sake of freshness, we're gonna redo the lids, and then we're gonna redo the faceplate itself.
I traced the old faceplate onto paper and then traced that onto the biggest unbent piece of cardboard that I could find. And I cut it out with an X-Acto knife as well as a box cutter. The old nose seemed perfectly fine, so I just peeled it off and trimmed off some of the old hot glue. But I did end up giving it a fresh coat of paint before I glued it on. I pulled the old lashes off of the lids so that I would have an easier time replicating them later. The eyes from the old denim Furby were a little dented up, which I was able to fix with a Sharpie and acrylic paint. Additionally, I painted on tacky glue to update the eyes with this fancy Martha Stewart glitter that I found at a thrift store. This is water-activated tape, one of my favorite crafting materials. I'm cutting a strip of a sponge so I can use just that piece to activate the gummed glue of the back of the tape. You may notice that I only dampen the tape in incomplete bits. I'd like to give it a moment to dry between sections. This way the pieces are less likely to slide out of place. I taped together strips of cardboard to create an oval. Next, I added flat cardboard underneath to maintain the specific position of the shape of the oval. I cut the tape into fringe so that I could tape small parts of it at a time without any wrinkles forming.
Welcome to the morning. Oh, kidding? So this looks good, although this corner here is wonky. So I'm gonna X-Acto knife the tape in here and make it less severe. This needs to be perfect for Faye. Well, I busted my good scissors. Busted scissors!
I cut out the old cardboard, outlined where I actually wanted it, I cut it out and taped the spacer back into place.
Alright. She fits alright.
I located my most continuous piece of cardboard to start building upwards. I like to roll up cardboard like this. I'm using what I guess I could call a cardboard rolling pin. I do this so that every piece of cardboard is already bent into a curve, making it more pliable to work with. I'm measuring the height in a few different spots to make sure the height is uniform all the way around.
Did all the math last year. Here's the classic Furby specs and how it translated to about my height. We want it to be about 40 inches tall. Okay, we're about 24. The face is gonna go roughly somewhere in here.
To close off the head of the Furby, I'm cutting uniform strips of cardboard to bend vertically. I begin by securing the tape to the cardboard, letting that dry for a bit before taping the cardboard strip to the main body of the beast. I crisscrossed the top a few times with these cardboard strips and reinforced it with extra tape inside and out. Here's how I close those triangular gaps. I take a rolled piece of cardboard, hold it inside the costume, and trace the shape of the gap that needs filled, which I trim to size and tape into place. I spent a really long time securing these gaps with tape from all angles and added additional layers of cardboard on top as needed as well. Next, I'm finalizing where the faceplate will go and am trimming cardboard out of the way to make sure the eyes will fit far enough through. I'm cutting this green paper to help myself map out a general idea where the different colors will start and end. Not all, but a lot of the 1998 Furbies generally have a belly tuft, hair on top, and a tail area in the back, a different color from the rest of the fur.
Alright, let's talk about the tinseling process.
Faye is known for having orange hair. I purchased party background tinsel in orange, as well as a combination of magenta and light pink to match the colors of this look that Faye designed with their friend and collaborator, Lynn Cream. It took quite a bit of experimenting to find the most beautiful as well as secure way to get the tinsel on this thing. This certainly was not the fast or simple or easy solution, but I found that the most effective way to get the tinsel on the cardboard was to hand make these wefts out of tinsel. Tinsel being the most fabulous thing I could fathom, being the fur of the Furby. I put down a long strip of clear tape, sticky side up, and manually placed pieces of tinsel all the way across the tape. Then I added an additional stripe of clear tape on the other side, sandwiching the tinsel in rows. This created fringe that will definitely, well, I mean hopefully, definitely not fall apart on stage. To give you an idea of how long this part of the process took me, this 18-ish inch piece of tinsel fringe took me 9.5 minutes to make. Mind you, the Furby costume has a circumference at its widest point of almost 90 inches, and she's about 40 inches tall, so you can do the math as to how many hours I spent taping tinsel together for this while talking to my friends on Twitter Spaces. I hot glued the fringe onto the cardboard. To make sure every little bit of cardboard was covered, I added 3 horizontal stripes of tinsel between each weft. I started from the bottom, and over a few weeks of my free time from my 9 to 5, I made my way up to the top of the costume. I also continued the tinseling process on the back of the ears. Also, I did not know that I've been using a mini hot glue gun my entire crafting career. When I ran out of hot glue, I bought a big cheap box of hot glue online, not realizing that full-sized hot glue cartridges were a thing. I decided that rather than return the glue, I simply decided to upgrade to a full-sized hot glue gun for $13. I should tell this story at parties. I added 2 coats of white acrylic paint to the faceplate. For the eyelids, I framed it out with thin strips of cardboard and slowly filled in the gaps with water-activated tape on the front and back. I painted over the eyelids with 2 coats of white paint and then 2 coats of orange paint. I've repeated this exact process for the lips. I used E6000 to glue the faceplate onto the body of the costume. We held it in place with clothespins and binder clips as it dried. I didn't plan on this happening, but I finished creating all of the individual parts of this costume literally on my birthday, so I had family in town. I enlisted their help putting the final pieces together.
Okay, Mom, you can probably cut the camera.
One of the struggles with this is keeping the tinsel held out of the way when gluing other things into place. So a big shout out to my family for greatly speeding along the final assembly of this costume. I used hot glue to adhere the eyelids, lips, nose, ears, and car lashes onto the costume. The denim Furby that I made in 2020 had a tongue just made out of paper, but this time around I realized I had pink vinyl left over from my astronaut Barbie costume to make a more cartoonish and authentic Furby tongue. Faye, you'll notice in the bag of stuff I sent you that I also cut out a creepy pointy tongue if you ever want to glue that inside of the mouth to put this thing in lizard mode.
Here she is! this is what I've spent most of this year making. Well, I made this, so this is the greatest thing I think I've ever made in my entire life, and probably will be the greatest thing I ever make. Can't tell you how many hours I spent on this thing. Just look at this. Can you believe this? God! So here's how you put her on. There she is. Car eyelashes, cardboard, and water-activated tape make up the lids, as well as the mouth. This is just cardboard, styrofoam ball. There's a rhinestone in there. And you thought your Furby growing up was cursed. I'm not sure why I wasn't able to capture the audio, but this is Faye's reaction to seeing the costume for the very first time. The costume may be complete, but I still need to ship this thing to Kansas City. I am gonna have to rip the eyelashes off to make the box significantly smaller for shipping. I've used up just about all of the cardboard I have hoarded to create this horrific looking box. First question is this package gonna fit into the Uber XL that's 4 minutes away? Second question, will UPS actually ship it? I cut the ears off because they said it needed to be that height to ship it. Fingers crossed this works out. I did call UPS ahead of time and briefly discussed dimensions, but at the time that I called, I had not yet finished making the box that the costume was gonna go in. UPS told me no. My approximations were way off, and the first destination sent me away. At that first stop, I was able to get a weight though. The whole box, everything, was only 35 pounds. This is how the rest of this day went. I spent the rest of the afternoon traveling to like 6 different shipping facilities. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't like missing any opportunities to get it out the door that day. I was ultimately unsuccessful. Like it really sucked. I'm the one that created this costume before like really finalizing what I would be able to ship in the mail. It's my own fault, but it was a really humiliating day, to be honest. This is a song about my day today. All right, here it goes. I was so bummed out that this costume wasn't gonna reach its destination anytime near Halloween. Over the following few weeks, I considered my options. I looked into having someone just drive the package out. I thought about cutting it, but I ultimately decided that the best option was to create a FedEx freight account and ship it that way. Now, creating the freight account was like a huge ordeal. It was like super annoying, but I eventually got it figured out. It's a month later. I still have the box. My Uber's a minute away. I was calling an Uber and XL for like an hour. I finally got one. I don't know if it's big enough. Early last week, I bought the box to the FedEx freight facility and they took the package off of my hands. They took the package. They took the package. Yes, 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 yes. Over the following few days, I anxiously tracked the AirTag I put in the costume just in case it were to get lost as it traveled halfway across the country. On Friday, I received news that the box had arrived safely to Faye in Kansas City. Faye's about to go on tour, but when they reunite with Furbalicious, there will definitely be even more glittering Tinsel Furby footage to come. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed seeing this process, please like, subscribe, and comment below what you want to see me make next. I also have links below with a few ways that you can support Faye. Thanks for watching. Bye! Yes!